Chicago mansion tax is getting talked about a ton right now, and it's primarily affecting home sales above the purchase price of $1 million, and it's getting backed by the new mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson. This video right here is not to be meant political at all, and it's kind of something different on this channel, but it's just to kind of shed light on here are my thoughts of what's going to happen in the real estate market here in the Chicagoland area, specifically the city of Chicago as well as the suburbs. For those of you guys who don't know, is that if you're purchasing a home in the city of Chicago, the current transfer tax rate for buying something in the city of Chicago is $7.50 to every $1,000 in purchase price. So to put in easy terms, a home that is worth $1 million in the city of Chicago, the transfer tax would be $7,500 to that equation. But with the new Chicago mansion tax, the transfer tax for $1 million home goes from $7,500 to $20,000. So that is a significant jump. And the Chicago mansion tax is in certain tiers. And a lot of people are talking about this from a real estate perspective and kind of just what's going to happen in the city of Chicago overall. The three tiers for homes is that anything under $1 million, it goes from 0.75% to 0.6%, and anything between $1 million to $1.5 million is 2%, and anything over $1.5 million is 3% for your transfer taxes. Go for the Chicago Mansion Tax, aka the Bring Home Chicago Act, which I will pop up on the screen right now, which kind of talks about it. But pretty much what they're saying here is that this whole act is to help the homelessness situation here in the city of Chicago. They state that only an average of 4.2% of properties that transact in the city of Chicago will be affected, as well as that it would generate around $163 million annually towards the homelessness situation here in the city of Chicago. So that is a large sum of money that can do a lot of good, right away, especially if those funds go to, the right resources and everything like that. And to keep in mind, Chicago isn't the first place to have this mansion tax incentive here. New York has it, as well as LA just rolled it on. But I just want to give you guys my realtor perspective on all this. And if you guys don't know who I am, my name is Brandon. So if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest into real estate in the Chicagoland area, whether it be next week or next year, my team and I would be absolutely honored to serve you. Call, text, shoot me, email. My information is down below in the description. But let's talk about this Chicago mansion tax and the potential effects that could have, in the city of Chicago, especially the real estate market in the city as well as the suburbs. So obviously the first thing to talk about is the transfer tax having a massive swing when you enter into that $1 million price point and beyond. Obviously at $1 million price point, the current transfer tax would be $7,500. And with the Chicago mansion tax in place, it can put you at $20,000. So in my opinion, what kind of happens in the city of Chicago is that I feel like at the end of the day, a lot of people in the city that want to buy in the city are going to transact regardless. And, I feel like people will get creative. Maybe sellers will split that transfer tax with the buyer because they want to sell. But I also feel like homes that are kind of in that $1 million, like right at that $1 million price point threshold, are probably going to get a correction in price. I feel like those $1 million homes are going to be, more in that $900,000 range. And from that saying is that the scale is going to be going more and more and more. So 900K could potentially be 800K. So potentially $900,000 can be an $800,000 home. $800,000 can be $700,000. Maybe not that drastic, but somewhere along that realm. Because honestly, if you were a buyer looking to purchase a home and it was $1 million home, wouldn't you rather be below that $1 million threshold mark so you can avoid that 2% transfer tax rate and get into that 0.6% instead? I know a lot of people will. There's going to be other incentives to it for sure when it comes to city of Chicago, but I feel like it's going to have a big hit, in my opinion, especially in the beginning for sellers, because there's going to be a lot of buyers not wanting to pay that truthfully. And then when it comes to the Chicago suburbs, everyone knows that we've been in this pandemic for a long, long time. I primarily work the Chicago western suburbs, so I see a lot of lateral movement with my clients looking to make a move from the city of Chicago to the Chicago suburbs. And a big thing is that a lot of those people that were relocating from the city to the suburbs might not know a ton about what's happening in the suburbs because they're originally from the city of Chicago. And, they've been looking casually for the past 2 years with the pandemic, but couldn't truly find anything. But I feel right now, especially with the Chicago mansion tax, I feel like it's going to accelerate a lot more individuals, couples, families or case may be, to relocate from, the state of Chicago to the suburbs, especially if they were looking in that $1 million price point in the state of Chicago as it was already. Because one is that they're going to get more bang for your buck, whether it be in the western suburbs or in the North Shore. And they can potentially trade their current home, either a condo, townhome, single family, in the state of Chicago. A lot more buyers might be looking at that, even though the tax rate went from 0.75 to 0.6. A difference, to say the least. But they can trade their home in the state of Chicago and move to the suburbs and kind of avoid that transfer tax, as it is here in the Chicago western suburbs. Town by town has different transfer tax rates, whether you're a buyer and a seller as well. But I feel like, in my opinion, especially early on, especially if the Chicago mansion tax and everything passes, is that I feel like next year in that higher price point market here in the Chicago suburbs can get pretty crazy, especially anything above 800K here, because I feel like a lot of people from the city of Chicago are going to make a move here to the suburbs, whether it be the western suburbs, the North Shore, or anything along that nature. But I feel like there are a lot of things that could potentially take place in the Chicagoland real estate market here. I feel like the city of Chicago real estate market might move a little slower than it is currently, and the Chicago suburbs market is going to keep on continuing to thrive, especially when people can live in the suburbs and get to the city for work, if they're going to the office 1 or twice a week, or even 1 or twice a month. So those are kind of my thoughts. I would love to kind of hear what you guys are thinking, especially if you are trying to get more information on the Chicago mansion tax, because I'd honestly love to talk about it. And like I said, if you are planning on buying, selling, or investing in real estate here in the Chicagoland area, or you're one of those people looking to make that lateral movement from the city of Chicago to the suburbs, reach out, because my team and I'd be absolutely honored to serve you. Call, text, shoot me an email. My information is down below in the description. And if you have been watching this channel for quite a while now and you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button, leave a like, drop a comment down below, because I tell YouTube I'm doing a good job at making this video kind of thing. Like I said, let me know your thoughts on the Chicago mansion tax, how it's going to affect the city of Chicago real estate market, or is it going to help it? Who knows? I would love to hear your comments down below, and I will see you guys on the next video.